Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are going on a journey, tracing the path of sickle cell disease, all the way from a single tiny defect in a gene to a massive, full-body crisis. So let's dive right in.
But first, right off the bat, I've got a question for you. Take a look at these four statements. Which one do you think is actually correct? Go ahead, take a second, and lock in your answer. It'll be a great way to frame everything we're about to cover.
Okay, you got your answer? If you picked A, you nailed it. Misshapen red blood cells absolutely can get trapped in the spleen. But the why and the how, well, that's where things get really interesting. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, just how common this disorder is. Then we're going to zoom way in down to the genetic level. After that, we'll zoom back out to see the devastating effects on the whole body. And we'll wrap it all up with the most important takeaways. First things first, let's talk scale. It's so important to understand that this isn't some incredibly rare condition. We're talking about the most common inherited blood disorder there is. So yeah, sickle cell disease is the most common inherited blood disorder in the entire world. And, while it does affect certain populations more than others, the crucial thing to remember is that it can happen to anyone. All right, now we're going to pull out the microscope. We are going way, way in, from the person down to the cellular level to find the absolute root cause, which is hidden deep inside our genetic blueprint. And here it is, the origin story for this entire disease. It all comes down to one single defect in the gene that tells your body how to make adult-type hemoglobin. That's the super important protein inside your red blood cells that's in charge of carrying oxygen. So how does it get passed down? Well, it's all about genetics. If you get that mutated gene from just one of your parents, you end up with what's called the sickle cell trait. It means you're a carrier. But if you inherit that gene from both parents, that's when you have a very high probability of having sickle cell disease itself. This distinction is absolutely critical. Okay, so we've got this tiny error in the genetic code. What does it actually do? Well, it has a very real, very physical consequence. It completely changes the shape of the red blood cells flowing through your body. Just look at the difference here. A healthy red blood cell, it's smooth, it's round, almost like a little donut, right? This shape is perfect for gliding easily through even the tiniest blood vessels. But that defective gene, it forces the cell into this rigid, oblong crescent moon or sickle shape. And this isn't just about looks. Form dictates function, right? Those smooth, round cells are amazing at their job of carrying oxygen. But the sickled cells, they are terrible at it. They're poor oxygen carriers, which means a person with the disease is always at risk of hypoxia, a dangerous lack of oxygen getting to their tissues. Okay, we've seen the tiny cause. Now let's pull the camera back, way back, and see how these microscopic, misshapen cells can trigger a massive, body-wide chain reaction of problems we call crises. I want you to picture a fast-flowing river. That's your bloodstream. The smooth, round cells are like little inflatable rafts, just cruising along. But the sickle cells? They're like sharp, sticky, crescent-shaped logs. They don't flow. They get stuck, they pile up, and they create a logjam, blocking everything behind them. This is the heart of the problem. And these logjams and other complications lead to what are known as crises. They generally fall into four main categories, and we're going to walk through each one so you can see how different and dangerous they all are. First up is the thrombotic crisis. This is that classic logjam we just talked about, and it's by far the most common type. The cells get stuck, blood flow stops, and this causes extreme pain and can damage tissues and organs. Next, we have something called a splenic sequestration crisis. So your spleen's job is to filter your blood. But for these sticky, misshapen cells, it becomes less of a filter and more of a trap. The cells get caught, they can't get out, and they cause a massive traffic jam of blood that makes the spleen swell up to a really dangerous size. And this is incredibly serious. This isn't just a little swelling. The spleen can get so engorged with trapped blood so quickly that it can actually rupture. And that can be fatal. It just shows you how life-threatening these crises really are. Then there's the aplastic crisis. Now, this one's a different kind of problem. This isn't a plumbing issue. It's a factory issue. For some reason, often triggered by an infection, the body's factory for making red blood cells just shuts down. It temporarily stops production, leading to a sudden, severe drop in red blood cells. And finally, we have the hemolytic crisis. Remember how we said those sickle cells are rigid and fragile? Well, they have a much shorter lifespan than healthy red blood cells. In this type of crisis, they start breaking apart and getting destroyed way too quickly, again, causing severe anemia and all the problems that come with it.
So when you put all of this together, what does it actually mean for the person living with it? It means episodes of unimaginable pain that requires intense, aggressive medical care. It means a compromised immune system, which leads to frequent infections. And it means a high risk that any of those infections could escalate into sepsis and, tragically, even death.
All right, we've gone from the big picture to the tiniest gene and all the way back out again to see the fallout. So let's connect all those dots and really nail down the key takeaways from this whole process. When you boil it all down, it's a devastatingly simple chain of events. Step 1, it all begins with an inherited gene defect. Step 2, that defect creates red blood cells that are misshapen and rigid. Step 3, those broken cells fail at their two main jobs. They block traffic and they can't deliver enough oxygen. And step 4, those failures lead directly to systemic, painful, and life-threatening crises. Gene to cell to blockage to crisis. And that really brings us to our final thought here. The journey from one single typo in our DNA to a full-blown systemic catastrophe is, well, it's a powerful and humbling reminder of just how incredibly interconnected and delicately balanced our bodies truly are. It really makes you think. Thanks so much for watching.